Hey everyone, welcome to our class. My name is Frank Marco. I will be your professor for the next 7 weeks for this class. You can read a little bit about me in my biography in the Blackboard introduction page, information page. Just to let you know, I've been teaching and thinking and studying leadership for quite a while now, and I'm really excited about working with all of you King's students here as we embark upon this important topic of leadership development. And I know that, leadership is pretty much in vogue. It's almost kind of a fad, and you might be saying, man, do I really need to take a class on leadership? Like I've read John Maxwell's book, and I went to a seminar once. Is it really important that I take a class on leadership development? Well, I hope that you find our time valuable. Perhaps we'll have a different take. Perhaps you will learn some new insight about yourself, and perhaps in the discussion and the writing and the reflection you will really walk away saying, yeah, that was a valuable experience. I understand more about leadership now. I understand more about myself now as a result of having taken this class. And I think it's really, it's imperative that we as Christian leaders, people that want to be leaders in the kingdom, that aspire to really do great things, understand this topic of leadership, and that we've thought about it in terms of our own personal development. And the whole idea of leadership development really is sort of a self-reflective journey in a way. It's looking, what is leadership? What are the critical, essential attributes of good leadership, and then looking at ourselves and saying, do I possess these? Am I on a trajectory to grow in these particular areas? And it might not always be comfortable, to be quite honest. Sometimes we fall short. Let's face it. None of us have reached the top of the leadership pinnacle. I don't know that anybody ever will, perhaps save our Savior, Jesus Christ. But we're all on a journey, and no matter if you're a 20-year-old kid or you're a 50-year-old seasoned pastor, I think you can learn something about leadership always. And so I trust that you'll find this class valuable, and that you'll be able to get through maybe the uncomfortable part of having to be transparent, of having to be vulnerable, of having to say, yeah, you know what, I haven't done that one so well, and that is something that I can learn on. Another critical aspect of leadership development too is looking at the larger context. Leaders don't develop in a vacuum, right? We all work within a certain context, whether it be a small group ministry, a church, an organization, a business, a nonprofit. Wherever you are, that environment will determine to a large degree how and if you develop as a leader. And this is really important as a leader maker, right? Thinking about yourself, how do I help other people develop in leadership? So we're also going to be looking at the context or the culture of an organization, if you will, to see if we as leaders are developing conducive environments for other people to develop as leaders. So it's not just about us and our own personal leadership development, but the broader organizational context in which leaders can flourish and thrive, and how we can be leader makers and help other people develop. So hopefully both of those key outcomes will come as a result of this class. Now, what I'd like to do in this first video is to introduce you to the class and to go through the course syllabus and to review some of the weekly assignments and then the major assignments, so that you all feel like I got a handle on this class, I know where it's going, I know what's expected of me, etc., etc. So, if you haven't already read the course syllabus, I want you to pause now, hit that little pause button, and take 15 minutes and review the course syllabus, because this talk will make a lot more sense and perhaps will clarify things if you've already read the syllabus, okay? So, pause, read, return. Okay, now that you've read the course syllabus, let me just hit some of the highlights. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, right? You guys just read it, but let me just kind of hit some of the high points and emphasize some things that I feel are important, all right? And if you have any questions, of course, I am always available to you through email or phone, and you have both of my contact information in the course syllabus. Please use them. Let me just say at the onset, I am here for you. I am part of what you get as part of your tuition, and this is a distance learning class, but my goal is to reduce that distance between me and you, and so whatever means we can use to communicate, I want you to avail yourself of them. So please don't hesitate, don't feel like you're bothering me. If you email or call, I will make time for you. My students are always a priority to me. All right? Enough said about that. All right, so you've read the course description. You've read the learning outcomes. These are important, right? Because these are the major things that we hope will be accomplished in this class. So Some of the learning outcomes are identify a biblical theological basis for leadership of flourishing churches and organizations. This will come primarily through our discussion board and through your reading in the Bobby Clinton book. Discover key organizational dynamic theories and apply them to a Christian ministry context. And this is what's known as the field of organizational behavior. And I've taught for many, many years organizational behavior, and we're going to introduce some key OB concepts in this class that are pertinent to this idea of leadership development, particularly culture. Understand the impact of leaders' character and spiritual maturity on their leadership style. And we know that really leadership starts at the character and personal ethics and values of the leader, him or herself. And so it's important that we have that kind of baseline understanding of some of these variables. Analyze organizational culture and identify areas where leadership towards change is needed. And again, this is kind of that OB angle, looking at the larger organizational context that will determine to a large degree how much leaders grow and flourish in that context. And then identify areas for spiritual growth and leadership. And my goal in this class, and this will come largely through the final paper, is that you have a plan for your own personal growth, so that you've identified things in your own life that you'd like to grow in, and you say, this is what I want to grow in, and here's how I plan to accomplish, with some specific, measurable, reachable goals. Not just, well, I want to become a better leader. Well, of course, we all want to become better leaders, right? But the purpose of this assignment will be to help you come up with some specific ways and a pathway to achieve that. Now, let me take a minute and talk about the textbooks. You've got two excellent books in here. The first one is Robert Clinton's The Making of a Leader. Now, Bobby Clinton was kind of a seminal thinker in this whole area in terms of Christian spiritual leadership development using this process model. And we're going to talk about that later on today. But it's a great book. It's a classic. It's been revised, and I really encourage you to read it, think about it, and enjoy it. It's a wonderful book. And the second is Barry Kouzes and Posner, interesting names, The Leadership Challenge. Again, this is another seminal classic work. This isn't necessarily a Christian book per se, but there's really nothing in there that any right-thinking Christian would disagree with per se. And I think you're going to enjoy this. It's a classic. He's kind of got a 5-step model there for understanding key attributes of leadership in our own lives. And so I think you're going to enjoy both of those books. The reading schedule is listed in the course syllabus, so you get a chapter or two of each book per week. So keep up with that reading. It's vital that you do your reading each week and that you read before you engage in the discussion board, right? Because we want your discussions, which I'll talk about in a minute here, to be reflective of your learning and your reading, and your thinking and processing about these ideas. All right, so I hope you enjoy those books. There's also going to be another reading assignment in there of an article by a scholar named David Day. Now this article is a bit older, but it's really seminal and it's really important. And by the way, when I use the term seminal, I mean this was an original thought or idea or book that spurred on a lot of other subsequent thinking, right? So as students, right, who are trying to become educated, we want to try to get the foundational basic concepts and theories that spurred on a whole area, and that's what these 3 items are going to do. So David Day's article, it's great. It's kind of dense. It's kind of complex. You might not be used to reading this type of literature, but it's important that you take on the challenge and think through, because he's got a lot of good stuff to say in there. He has really condensed and summarized many concepts about leadership development that are important for you to know. So in terms of the methods of instruction, we're going to have videos like this each week. I'll produce one or so. I'm also going to have links to other good videos and resources. We're going to have our discussion board activity. Let me just talk about that now. Each week, I'm going to post a question or 2, maybe 3, question that has to do with that week's reading, videos, lectures, materials, or whatever. So I have the instructions in there. Basically, I'll post the question. It'll be available on Monday morning. I want you to get in there, make sure you've done all your reading. You need to make your initial post no later than Wednesday, and that's the latest, okay? That's not the minimum. Some of you are thinking, oh great, I don't have to think about this till Wednesday. No, that's when, if by you don't do it, you will be late. But I want you to do it earlier in the week. I would even recommend as soon as you're done reading, maybe even by Tuesday, to get in there. My thought on this whole thing is the earlier you get in, the earlier you post, the more engaged you'll feel and the less behind the curve you'll feel. I know some students look at discussion board as like, well, it's just one more thing I got to do and I'll wait till like Saturday night or Sunday and I'll throw something in there. That is not a good approach to being an online student. So I want to encourage you guys. Again, I'm trying to help you learn good leadership practices, right? Waiting till the end, not a good leadership practice, all right? So practice by being a good student and getting in there early and be proactive in that discussion board. And let's make it a good time. And I'm going to try to be in there. I won't respond to every post that everybody makes. This is really kind of a student-centered activity, but I'm going to get in there and I'm going to see what you guys are saying. I'm going to challenge you. Maybe if I see some sloppy thinking, or maybe if I see something that wasn't really articulated well, or maybe you didn't really reflect any knowledge of the content of the class, and that's big for me. And you'll see in my instructions there, I say, you got to let me know that you're doing your reading, that you've watched the videos. Because if I just see comments that look like, something you just kind of made up on the way to the computer, I'm going to challenge you on that. All right. So please do your homework and show me that you understand the concepts and reflect those and wrestle with those in your discussion. And I think it's going to make it richer. I think you're going to learn more out of it, and I think other students are going to get more from your posts as they see you processing and thinking about these ideas. Okay, so to summarize the main requirements of the course then, we've got the reading, which is going to be posted. I mentioned the 3 books you'll be reading. The online discussion board, that'll be happening every week. The personal leadership development assessment and growth plan. All right, so this is your major paper, your term paper. This is a big one. This is going to be a 12 to 15 page paper. I've got the instructions laid out in the syllabus. I'll talk more about it later in the class because I know you don't want to think about it right now. But please do read that and begin thinking about that. And you can start to prepare for that really from the beginning of the classes. So as you are coming across some important ideas, as you get these flashes of insight and the Lord begins to show you areas that He would have you develop in, begin to keep a journal, a written process of those, make notes perhaps in your books and say, final paper idea right here. So you can begin right away. You don't have to start writing right away, but I want you to begin thinking about things that are going to go into that final paper from the beginning, because you don't want to wait till the very end and say, man, well, what do I read and what am I going to write about? Let the paper develop as a natural outflow of your thinking and reflection throughout the class. That would be my approach, and that's going to help you make this not such a huge paper, because I know 12 to 15 pages, that's like a lot of writing, right? So at least you can do the thought work ahead and identify the ideas and the concepts ahead, so that when you actually have to write the paper, you've kind of, you've thought about it a lot already, okay? So that would be my approach. And then there's going to be a final exam, all right? And I'm not exactly sure how it's going to look, if it's going to be objective or essay. It's probably going to be a little bit of both, all right? I'll give you some heads up on that. To prepare for that, I would again keep track of key concepts. So if I say something like, what are the 5 habits of effective leaders according to Barry Posner and Kouzes and Posner, you'll know those, right? By the end of the class, you're going to know those 5 things pretty good, right? Because we're going to be studying those throughout the class. So keep track of key concepts that we encounter in the class, and that'll help you to do well in that final exam. I've talked a little bit about discussion. Please review that. I have actually a rubric for evaluating, and if you want to know how to do good on this, I'm literally going to use this rubric each week for each forum to evaluate how you do. Because let's face it, the discussion board is a big part of your grade, and so I'm not just saying, oh, he said something, so 100 points. You need to say something substantive to reflect the content. You need to make the required number of posts, and you need to be engaged with the class. So really, discussion board is supposed to be a class participative kind of activity, and so make sure that you are engaging other students in there, that you are challenging them, right? That you're asking them questions, and if you really want to know how that's done, look at what I do, okay? Hopefully I can be a model to you in this whole regard. You'll see how I respond to students and how I challenge them, and the kind of my thought process. Say, oh, okay, that's the kind of response that the professor's looking for. If you do that, if you kind of ask challenging questions, right, then you'll do good in the discussion. And again, let me encourage you that this is a safe place, right, to play with these ideas and to really help one another grow. And again, I know a lot of times there's a tendency for students to say, oh, that was great, that was wonderful, you're the best, I never heard anybody say it that great, we're all Christians, we're supposed to encourage each other. Granted, we are supposed to encourage each other, but we're also supposed to challenge each other, right? When Proverbs says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And so let this be a place where you sharpen each other as well and say, you know, I didn't really understand that. I didn't really get that. Or can you clarify it? Or how does this apply to you really? Is that really what's going on with you? And I know we're just kind of getting to know each other in this class, but it's a safe place to really think and challenge one another and to help each other grow and to learn these concepts, all right? So in the syllabus, you'll also see that I have the evaluation, what the grade is going to be based on, so please take a look at that. And there's also a schedule there for each topic. So if you're wondering what we're going to be doing, what you're supposed to be reading each week, boom, look at it right there. This will also be repeated in Blackboard as well. So keep on top of that. I know in an online class we like to keep everything digital. If you're going to print something, this would be the one document I would recommend printing as this syllabus. Please read through the additional course policies regarding late work, academic integrity, plagiarism, disability accommodations, and library information. And then there's a course bibliography. Now for the final paper, just to let you know, you are going to be required to use some outside sources in addition to the textbooks. All right, so there's 2 textbooks, so you're going to need to find 3 additional sources. That's a good place to start. Our library can resource you and help you to find some of those works as well. All right, so they need to be substantial sources, not just joeswebsite.com, joetheleader.com, one of these fluffy kind of sites. Now, there's a lot of good web resources out there. I'm not putting them all down. You guys are college students. You need to know how to find good quality resources to use in your papers. Well, I think that's about it. I think that wraps up my introduction video. Hopefully this was helpful and this cleared up the topic for you. Again, I'm here for you. If you have any questions, please let me know and I will help you in any way I can. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. I'm excited about this topic. I love this topic. I think it's important. I think it's invaluable for Christian leaders to think about their own leadership, to look at some of these other ideas about leadership, and to think about the context in which they practice leadership and in which they help others to develop as leaders. I think these are all critical competencies, and we need good leaders, we need thoughtful leaders, we need self-reflective and self-aware leaders, really, I believe, in order to advance the kingdom in this day. So God bless you all. Look forward to working with you all, and I will see you online.